Hey, good afternoon. So I had a question about how to FOIL or multiply out 5 times x plus h to the third power, since now you guys are getting into the difference quotients. So in order for us to FOIL out 5 times x plus h to the third, we've got to know how to FOIL at least two parentheses at a time. So what I mean by FOILing is first, outer, inner, last. That's what we learned back in algebraic foundations. So another way to write this, okay, instead of 5 times x plus h to the third, we can write it out as 5 times x plus h times x plus h times x plus h. Okay, so it's x plus h written 3 times because it's multiplied by itself 3 times. So let's kind of sort of clean this up a little bit. What I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply this 5 into this parentheses just to say I've got one less thing to worry about. So I'm going to multiply 5 into this parentheses, so that would be 5x plus 5h. And then I still have these two guys left over, so I'm going to bring those on down. Okay? Now, this is when the foiling process comes in. So when you FOIL something, you always FOIL 2 at a time. You don't do 3 at a time. Excuse me. So when you FOIL, you do only 2 parentheses. It doesn't matter which 2 you do with, but you do 2 at a time, and you do first, outer, inner, last. What I'm going to do, I'm going to FOIL these two guys out because those look pretty simple. Okay, so I'm going to knock that one out first. So I'm going to leave this 5x plus 5h by itself. So basically, that's going to come on down for the right. I'm not going to do anything with it yet. But here, when I multiply these two, you can also draw your arrows too if you got to. First, the first terms multiply together. The outer terms multiply together. The inner terms, and then the last terms. Okay, so here, this would be x squared plus xh plus xh again plus h squared. All right, so when we clean it up, still not going to do anything with that 5x plus 5h yet. Not yet. But here, when we combine like terms, xh plus xh, well, that gives us a 2xh. And then we have an h squared left over. Okay, so we're down to here. This is when it gets a little tricky. Now, I kind of do things a little differently just so I can organize my terms. But bottom line, we're going to multiply this 5x by everything in here, and then this 5h by everything in here. That's actually the FOIL process. But it's a little bit more extended because now we now have a factor with 3 terms in it. Okay? So let's take 5x and multiply it by everything in here. Okay? So 5x times x squared, well, that becomes a 5x to the third. All right? Now a 5x times a 2xh, well, that gives us a 10x squared h. Okay? 5 times 2 is 10, x times x is x squared, and then times h, well, we just bring the h down. And then 5x times h squared, well, that gives us a 5xh squared. Okay? Now, this is where I'm a little different. Okay? I have done these problems one too many times to see that if I just keep on going and I have a string of terms here, I'm going to mess up somewhere. Something's going to get left off when I combine like terms. So what I do, whenever I take care of this guy first, since I multiplied this guy by everything in here, I underline it, I cross it out, I do something to tell myself not to use that again. Now, I'm going to do the same process I did with that 5x, but now I'm going to do it with the 5h, but I'm going to multiply by everything in here. Here's why I'm a little different. I'm going to put my terms down underneath, but I'm going to keep my like terms together. In other words, 5h times x squared, well, that becomes a 5x squared h. Okay, because multiplication, the order doesn't matter. So I'm going to put it underneath this other x squared h term. Okay, and it's a positive. So positive 5x squared h. Now, 5h times 2xh, well, that becomes a 10xh squared. Okay, you see how the terms are very similar. They're like terms, and they're already organized. And then last but not least, 5h times h squared, that becomes a 5h to the third. So now we don't have to hunt and peck for like terms. We already got them organized. So now all we have to do is just add and subtract. Actually, in this case, all we have to do is add 5x to the third plus 15x squared h plus 15xh squared plus 5h to the third. Okay? A lot of terms going on, but that's actually how we multiply or how we FOIL things that are cubed. Okay? A little tricky, but this process is going to work every single time. Now, you don't have to multiply the 5 in here and then do it the exact same way I did. It doesn't matter which 2 you start off with. It's just you have to only do 2 at a time. Okay? So, yeah, as always, let me know if you have any questions or anything along those lines. And let me know, guys.